Welcome to a brand new edition of NFL Power Rankings. We are presented by Energizer, along with Eric Edholm. Mike Yam with you. Kind of a big week that we're coming off of, especially when you consider that there was not just one, but there was two Monday Night Football games. We'll get to some of these teams and their rankings, but real quick, Eric, I think from a news perspective, it's always significant when one of the best players in the NFL goes down. We unfortunately did see that on Monday night with Tyreek Hill, dislocated knee, out for the season. They get the win, but what do we make of what this offense is going to look like without him?
Yeah, I guess it's good that Darren Waller had the game he did in his return to the NFL, 2 touchdowns and the onside kick return to help kind of seal it there. But losing Tyreek Hill completely changes this team. We had Malik Neighbors go down in New York too. So every week it seems like there's been a new position that's been attacked, and wide receiver certainly is one. So Miami's got to find some solutions. Jalen Waddle, somebody else. It's got to come from within, I think.
Yeah, we will find out exactly where the Miami Dolphins rank on your list. But let's get to the top teams right now in the league, and at number one, with no drama at all, 4-0, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills right behind them, followed by the Lions. So no change in that top three. A nice move here from the Rams, who we'll talk about in just a moment, moving up 6 spots into the 4th position. Seattle, let's go, moving up 8 spots. The Packers hold firm at 6 with a tie on Sunday Night Football. It's still weird to see 2-1-1 as a record for them against the Dallas Cowboys. That was entertaining until we didn't get closure on a winner. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers dropped 2 spots to 7, and then we got the Chargers falling 4 spots into that 8th position. All right, I think there's a lot of teams that would love to have this type of drama. Be 4-0, coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. What am I supposed to make of these conversations with this offense and A.J. Brown being upset and Jalen Hurts and some of these numbers in the first half versus the second half? They're still undefeated.
Yeah, and we had a lot of conversations like this about the Kansas City Chiefs last year, right? All the close wins, all the close shaves that they had, but they had this sort of late game grit. Now, I understand the Eagles didn't play all that well in the second half of this game, didn't play well in the first half against the Rams. They've had this sort of bad habit of, I don't want to say falling asleep, but going into snooze mode, if you will, offensively. And, Jalen Hurts is still capable of making plays. We've seen more design runs. There were these little clever pitch plays. There was the fake tush push. So they added more to this offense this week, but it just wasn't connecting consistently. They really haven't had a great 60-minute game yet, but with the defense playing as well as it is, special teams as well, the offense still getting good field position, still making high point totals. So right now it's good enough. Will it be good enough in October, November, December? We shall see.
If the Bills were dominant, and they got tested against the Saints, if they were dominant, would you have slid them into the top spot?
Yeah, I considered it too with Detroit. Buffalo and Detroit, 2 teams that I thought about moving up into that top spot. Right now, the top quartile, the first 8 teams, you can make an argument for a lot of different orders, other teams that I didn't even include in this list. So it's been hard to solidify kind of the upper class right now.
The Rams, I think, are in that mix, and I'm glad you moved them up as far as you did. They sit 4th in the rankings. They move up 6 spots. And I know a couple weeks ago they lost to this Philadelphia team in Philadelphia, but I'm a believer in the Colts. Maybe I'm in the minority. I'm not exactly sure, but I think the Colts are a really good football team, and they got tested there. Make the case for the Rams and justify this 4th position for them.
I'm with you. I think the Colts were a legitimate opponent. Granted, they did shoot themselves in the foot, and the Rams took advantage of it, right? I think they're an opportunistic football team. If Matthew Stafford stays healthy, they have a chance. The run game, been a little hit or miss, but those 2 explosive receivers, that and the pass rush makes for an excellent combination. If they can solidify the special teams, I think they'll have a squad that's very dangerous to face. So, you think about kind of how they've gotten to this point. It's really a loss at Philly. They had a chance to win that game at the very end. That's the only thing keeping them from 4-0 right now. So when you step back, you kind of look at their resume. Yes, some close shave wins, but still coming against some better teams. I think the Texans will end up looking like a better win in week 1. And, just across the board, they don't have any glaring weaknesses in my opinion. But the question is, are they going to stay healthy? Are they going to stay viable for the whole season? Just think about how much better they look now, though, than the starts the last 2 seasons, 1-4, 3-6. That's been a huge improvement right there.
Yeah, and look at it, because they've been healthy these last couple of years. You think about the starts of their seasons and revolving doors on their offensive line, star players going down. I just think if you're a Rams fan, you absolutely have to love the fact that Matthew Stafford looks healthy, because there was some real concern with that back injury heading into week number 1 in the preseason, not really seeing him out there. So definitely a positive sign. So the Rams, they move up 6 spots. Not even the biggest movers in the rankings. Time for Power Moves, presented by Energizer. Up 8 spots, we got the Seahawks that are making some moves here. How legit is this team in your mind? Is this like hey, I just got to give them credit for what they're doing, I'm going to slide them up, coupled with some losses from the teams that were in the mix here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that to it, Mike. I mean, like I said earlier, it's been a little bit tough to determine who are the best 8 teams, who are the real cream of the crop. But as I kept looking more and more at Seattle, I thought, boy, close loss in week 1, have made strides since then, have a big road win at Pittsburgh, short week road win at Arizona, even if they had to hang on. So a lot of good things. And I guess I didn't know what to expect out of Sam Darnold coming into the season. I guess I didn't know whether Jackson Smith-Njigba would be that wide receiver 1 without DK there. So far, those have been answered. I think both guys have played excellent. The defense has made some strides. The run game can put teams away. They have that 2-headed monster. O-line is kind of held firm for now. And just more big plays defensively the last 3 games, too. So I love the progress they've made. They look like a more sure-footed team. Some doubt, maybe. Are they truly that elite-level contender? I don't know yet. But, again, their resume looks pretty good, and they're right up there with the Rams as one of the NFC West heavyweights, I think.
And an opportunity to really solidify themselves and justify this ranking with Tampa Bay that's looming. And quite frankly, Eric, they win that football game. I think there's more people who watch this show, listen to this podcast, who will say, oh, okay, this makes sense. I feel like I jinxed the Green Bay Packers. Coming off of week 2, I'm doing shows, on the NFL channel and hanging out with you, Eric, and I'm like, yo, Green Bay's got the best resume in the NFL. I was buying it. I'm like, hey, they're going to be a Super Bowl team. Then they lose, and then they come up with a tie. How am I supposed to view this squad based off of the highs and some of the lows for the first few weeks of the season?
Yeah, I think the team that looked like it was going to race out to a 2-touchdown lead all of a sudden had an extra point block. That's a 3-point swing, started giving ground defensively, and we started asking ourselves, is this the same defensive group that we saw the first 3 weeks of the season, even as good as Dak Prescott is? And he was fantastic Sunday night. But still, this defense kind of held itself to a higher standard, had kind of raised the bar, if you will, with their performance the first 3 weeks of the season, and it dropped. There's no question about it. I mean, with that one game, all of a sudden we're kind of left to question, hey, what happens when they slow down the pass rush? Is that secondary going to be able to hold up? Look, Jordan Love is going to have a couple of quirky plays per game. You sort of bake that into the expectations. He's been more good than bad. Josh Jacobs sort of cured some of their run game issues Sunday night, even if it did come against the Cowboys. But special teams remain a problem. That offensive line has injuries. Thankfully, they're at the bye, and they can kind of sort some of those things out. But all of a sudden, 2-1-1, I think we're questioning their credentials a little bit.
Yeah, we are. You know who we're not questioning right now? Jackson Dart and the G-Men.
Yeah.
How about the Giants? Let's go. I told you last week on the show, he's gonna invigorate this team. I will say this, I didn't see this coming. And what I mean by that is I didn't see them beating the Chargers and really dominating most of that game. I'm almost willing to give LA the pass here. We knew about Slater before the season started, gets a mega contract. He's not on that offensive line. Joel Alt gets hurt. Justin Herbert, some uncharacteristic interceptions. This dude doesn't really make mistakes. I think you and I on this show, we're talking about him as like an early MVP candidate. Are you with me? Like, just say, hey, like a blip on the radar. Let's not panic right now. They didn't have Najee Harris. I think Amari and Hampton looked pretty good. Or are you legitimately concerned about this offensive line creating more problems, than solutions over the next few weeks?
Yeah, one of the good things that came out of that game, one of the very few, let's make that clear, was Amari and Hampton. I think him breaking out and, putting that fumble a couple weeks ago way behind him. Each week he seems a little bit more comfortable. That's a good thing. It's important that he has a role. But losing Slater first in the preseason and then losing both your tackles, both high-paid guys, both expected to be huge parts of their equation, it really kind of having those two made them think maybe we don't need to add as much in the offseason to that group. Becton, if they had all those guys together healthy, they might have one of the better offensive lines in the league. Now, arguably one of the worst. So how are they going to find solutions to keeping Herbert upright, protecting him? He's already sped things up. He's already done so much. with so pass protection. What's going to happen the way we saw in that second half? The Giants just mauled him. Austin Deculus had his hands full. I don't know if there's a solution on the roster right now to help out.
I will say this, Giants defense, and I know this team has struggled this season. I mean, I just love seeing the emotion with Jackson Dart and Brian Daboll, but this defense is actually pretty good. So for as much as people want to say, like, oh, they shouldn't have lost this game, you got the injuries on this offensive line. I think that's a problem. The one positive, and there's more than one, but one of the positives is the Chargers have one of the best wide receiver rooms and one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think that there's credit Harbaugh. I believe in him, trust him. I think he'll be able to figure it out, but they do drop 4 spots in these rankings. There's another team that I actually thought we'd be talking a whole lot more about them, and it's been mostly negative, but I'll tell you what, I think they're really on the mend. Xavier Worthy looked terrific. We'll examine the Chiefs and talk about some struggles of the Ravens. That's coming up next on NFL Power Rankings.
Power Rankings is brought to you by Energizer. Still going.
Back here on Power Rankings, Mike Amelon with Eric Edholm, and you can take a closer look at Eric's rankings teams 9 through 16. Don't look now. Kansas City Chiefs look like they are back, moving up 2 spots to number 9. The Colts with that close loss to the Rams, drop a spot into that 10th position. The Commanders, they cannot wait to get Jaden Daniels back into the lineup at 11. The Broncos look good, move up 2 spots on Monday Night Football with a win against Cincinnati. They're in the 12th spot. The Jags at 13, the Steelers at 14. We'll talk about both those teams. At 15, it is the Niners who dropped 3 spots. Even had Brock Purdy back in the lineup, couldn't figure out a way to get it done. And the free fall for the Ravens continues. 1-3, they dropped 9 spots. Time for Future Champions presented by FanDuel. Let's take a closer look at the AFC West and the division. The odds to go and win. The Chargers the favorite at plus 110. You got the Chiefs right behind them at plus 145. The Denver Broncos at plus 480. And the Raiders, so you're saying there's a chance, plus 4,000 to go and win. Let's focus in, though, on Kansas City. This is a team sitting at number 9. It's amazing because if you would have said one player could make a difference, well, that player's Patrick Mahomes, right? And I think he tried his best, but what did Giselle say a couple years ago in that Super Bowl? Tom Brady can't throw and catch. I guess the same thing can be said for Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, what a difference he makes inside this lineup.
Yeah, it wasn't hard to see the difference. I'm sure anyone who's been watching the Chiefs for a while now, and certainly the beginning of the season, just seeing him right away, the big play returning to the offense, average 17 plus points per touch, 37-yard catch, 35-yard run, 28-yard catch, all in the first 30 plus minutes of the game. That was the big difference right there. I've always said when Patrick trusts his receivers, his targets, and his offensive line, this is a good offense, right? We'll see if they're back to being that Super Bowl type contender, but I think they have to feel a ton better about themselves with a dominant victory over Baltimore with these developments happening. So yeah, it just makes Mahomes so much more dangerous. It takes a little off his play as far as the scrambling is concerned. So it's fun to see them with a mostly full complement. Don't forget, they still get Rashee Rice at some point this season. So, with him and Jalen Royals eventually too, when he's got his full arsenal of weapons, I think the Chiefs are going to absolutely be one of those teams you can't look past at all. I mean, we were ready to bury them, but they're still coming.
Eric, this is the first time this season I've watched this team, and they look like, A, they were having fun, and B, they looked confident. And they were confident against a Ravens team that's had a lot of injuries. We'll talk about them in just a moment, but I don't think it matters. I think that team goes, hey, Lamar Jackson's still on that side of the field. They still got some other guys, and they handled them. So I think this is a big spot for Kansas City. They get Jacksonville on the road, Monday Night Football. That's also a big spot for them. All right, let's move on to the Colts, who sit number 10 on your rankings. Danny Dimes got a couple interceptions, looking a little human because that hadn't been the case for the first couple of weeks of the season. They're literally like a dropped touchdown from Adonai Mitchell away from maybe having a different result against the Rams. There's a part of me, and I said this earlier when we talked about Los Angeles, I think this Colts team is really legit, and you still have them as a top 10 team. You must feel the same way.
I do. I watched that game closely on Sunday Live, watched parts of it again later, and I said, look, if A.D. Mitchell doesn't, you kindly said drop, right? Cough it up, whatever you want to say, just shy of the end zone, out of the back. I mean, that's a turnover. That's missing 7 points right there. and then a holding call also on Jonathan Taylor's 53-yard touchdown return in the fourth quarter. Couldn't have two more disastrous plays for a single player. Obviously, he becomes the GOAT. But the Colts really did do what they hadn't done the first 3 games of the season, and that's shoot themselves in the foot. These costly penalties and mistakes that really hurt them. Because at the beginning of the game and through different stretches throughout, they actually look like, if not the equal team, so maybe even the better one than the Rams at times. So I'm with you. I think they're a legitimate team. I don't think they're going to have games where A.D. Mitchell or one other player has this many terrible mistakes all at once. But they've got to make sure they clean it up. Their margin for error, I don't think, is quite as big as some of the other contenders. But how efficient they've been offensively this season, I don't think we can look past them.
Yeah, they got the Raiders next up, and once again, you only dropped them 1 spot. I could tell there's a lot of respect that you have for that ball club. The Jags move up 4 spots. At what point do we say, oh, okay, like, hey, maybe this is the year that we thought we would get a couple years ago from this team? Like, this looks pretty legit, especially on the defensive side.
That's 13 turnovers they forced this year, Mike. Here's a little crazy stats. That's more than 3 teams had all of last season. And one of those 3 teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they had 9 turnovers all of last year, forced 13 through 4 games, 3 of them, at least 3 in every single game. That'll win you football games right there. Even if Trevor Lawrence and Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas and those guys are still kind of developing chemistry, even if the offense has been a little bit hit or miss. You go +4 in the turnover department against San Francisco, and you get a punt return touchdown. That's a game you need to win, even with a missed field goal and some other stuff they left out on the field. So, look, the offensive formula, Liam Cohen was brought in to kind of fix this thing, get the big plays coming. We've seen Travis Etienne. We've seen some moments where it looks promising, but it really has been about the defense and, in most cases, the special teams that have done the heavy lifting. So, they haven't even theoretically hit anything close to their offensive peak yet, and they're vastly outperforming what they did defensively a year ago. So I'm intrigued. Consider me fascinated where this team could end up, because there's still so much room to grow, and we'll see if they can kind of threaten the Colts in that division and maybe even make a playoff push.
Yeah, I think one of those last points is a legit one. They haven't even hit the ceiling right now on the offensive side. Bucky Brooks, one of our colleagues at NFL Media, actually works on that broadcast team for the Jags. I remember talking to him a week ago about this. He's like, hey, Brian Thomas doesn't even look like the dude he was last year. Like, there's another gear for this offense they haven't utilized. They're just not clicking right now at full throttle. When that happens, they'll be scary. The Steelers, they go to Ireland, they get a win, they move up a couple spots in your rankings. They sit at 14th. Are they the team to beat in the AFC North?
I have very soft sort of recommendation for that right now. Every team in the North is in the negative in point differential, including the Steelers. They're -2, even though they're 3-1. So, I don't want to give them too much credit, but I will say they've taken care of business the last 2 games. A Patriots team that hadn't found its identity yet, and now a Vikings team that's struggling offensively. The 3 wins they have are against flawed offenses, so I don't want to put too much stock into what they've done. And the big home loss to Seattle still kind of looms, but we've at least seen progress. Aaron Rodgers looks pretty good. I mean, look, I can't complain with a whole lot of what he's done. DK Metcalf has been good too. Kenneth Gainwell stepped in and did a really good job for Jaylen Warren. They're fixing some of these little issues that kind of plagued them the first few games of the season, but is it the most impressive 3-1 start of all time? No. And I think, some Steelers fans wish they wouldn't have punted there at the end of the game, kind of keeping the door open, but doing the job so far. And again, I think this is a team that can get theoretically better than what we've seen so far. So the record helps them out quite a bit.
I think one of the more disappointing teams this season is inside that division. They dropped 9 spots for you. That's the Baltimore Ravens. By the time the game was over with the Kansas City Chiefs, 7 starters on this defensive side either were not playing because they got hurt in the game or didn't even play in this matchup because they were banged up. Then Lamar Jackson is out late in that game because of a hamstring injury. They get Houston. What am I supposed to make of a 1-3 football team that's got this much attrition?
Yeah, it's really hard to kind of gauge them right now. We're still kind of waiting to hear what Lamar's status is and what he's going to be. Is he going to miss a game? Would they consider sitting him out? Is it multiple games? Is it 0? That uncertainty looms over everything because he's the guy that can rescue the Ravens from a bad game. He hasn't really done that so far, but he has that capability. He's superhuman in some regards. But when you have him banged up, not as effective as a runner so far this season, and tasked with cleaning up so many mistakes, all the injuries on defense, how many points and drives they're giving up. The offense has had problems as well. This is where the breaking point, the law of diminishing returns kind of kicks in at this point. So, yeah, you start thinking about Matabike out for the season, the secondary really being chewed up, Roquan Smith too. That's the heart of the Ravens defense outside of Kyle Hamilton. And to lose that kind of backbone, that core, if you will, is just absolutely gutting right now with some tough games coming up. Texans, Rams, and hopefully they limp into the bye at this point.
Yeah, they are a 1-3 football team. Eric, I gotta talk to our research department. I got to imagine teams that start 1-3 making the postseason, like that's probably low single-digit percentage.
Pretty low.
So this is going to be an uphill battle right now for this Ravens team. They got to get healthy. Hopefully Lamar does not miss significant time. There's a reason for smile from me though, because the New York Giants handle the business, getting their first win of the season. Jackson Dart reinvigorating this ball club. What does it mean for the G-Men in their ranking? We'll also check in on a division rival and the Cowboys, who also showed some signs of life on the offensive side. That's still to come on Power Rankings. Back here on Power Rankings, Mike Yim and Eric Edholm with you. Here's Eric's teams, 17 through 24. The Vikings dropped 2 spots with that loss against the Steelers in Ireland. Don't look now. Chicago's starting to look pretty good here. Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, that connection's looking pretty strong. They move up 1 spot. At 19, it's the Cardinals, the Falcons. They might be the biggest enigma in the NFL based off what we saw 2 weeks ago and then a win this past week. They move up 2 spots. The Texans, good to see them get into the win column, also moving up 2 spots to 21. The Dallas Cowboys, a mover of 2 spots as well at 22. The Patriots at 23 and the Cincinnati Bengals, oh boy, dropped 4 spots down to 24. All right, the Cowboys, explain this to me. Are you a fan of ties?
Oh, I love ties. Are you kidding me? I like unusual scores. I like strange games. So, yeah, I do. And it messes everything up, right? Totally. When we get down to tiebreaker season, this is going to be pretty fun. But who knows if the Cowboys will even be in playoff contention. If they have George Pickens making plays like this, maybe they will. Dak Prescott was special, too. A very tough team to rank given their defensive struggles. But I will say they're playing hard. And it's good to see Dak back at an elite level. He was an MVP candidate a couple years ago. And boy, I hope he gets a chance at a ring at some point. Again, I don't know if it's this season, but you got to love the fight in this team. And they did put on a show at least Sunday night.
Yeah, an emotional game for the Dallas Cowboys with Micah back into the building. And obviously, Micah had that huge tackle late in that game.
Yeah.
Really actually helped save it for him from that perspective because it could have been a loss for Green Bay. Bengals, they dropped 4 spots. I got a friend who's actually a fan of Cincinnati. Shot me a text this morning. And he's like, hey, what are we supposed to do? This was really tough on Monday night. And he's right about that. They dropped to 4 spots. You got it. Do you make a trade for a quarterback? Is it Russ? Is it, do you make some calls for Jameis? Get me some moon balls here. I don't know what the solution is for this team because Detroit is next, and I don't know how they get that win.
Yeah, I mean their upcoming schedule is rough, and what we saw Monday night was not feasible. I mean, this is not how you employ your star wide receivers. You don't get them the ball. That's certainly a problem. Jake Browning has been bad. Maybe it is the solution. You go for a quarterback. There are some options out there, or maybe you go in the totally different direction and start fielding calls on T. Higgins or Trey Hendrickson. I guess it depends how the next 3-4 games go and if they're going to be out of it by the trade deadline. If they are, that's what I would do. I would take the opposite approach. Look, you still want to build around Burrow and Chase. That's fine. I get that. But this was an all-in type of season that's going all out the window right now. So I don't know if I can defend that quarterback option unless they start winning some games.
That's the problem. They went in on this season. This team is to build right now. Got to figure it out personnel-wise. Rankings 25 through 32. It's the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants moving up just 4 spots, Eric. What are we doing here? The Panthers at 27. At 28, it's the Raiders, followed by the Dolphins, who don't have Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season. The Jets still looking for their first win of the year at 30. The Saints also winless. And then the Tennessee Titans at 32, dropping 3 spots. Boy, that offense, it's just been tough sledding here. The Giants, dude, why just 4 spots? Your biggest mover was the Seahawks. I candidly, I thought it was going to be the Giants moving inside the top 20, if I'm being honest with you.
you got to win some more games first, right? You lose Malik Neighbors. I mean, that's gonna take an effect too. But I love what Dart did. I mean, they added some wrinkles to the offense. You saw this little shovel of Theo Johnson. You know, Dart's athleticism, he used it better than Russell Wilson did. So I'm still excited. I think they can manufacture some yards, but not without Neighbors there. I don't know how much they're gonna be able to do.
Yeah, it's a tough go. But the defenses look good, and they signs of life for that offense. Appreciate you guys watching.